They got something done, Bobby.
We'll be all in.
Sure, I suppose so. Okay, so they get two things done. They get guard Robert Jones. They had him from the Dolphins, a guy, an undrafted free agent for the Dolphins a few years back.
Really good golf course designer, Robert Jones.
Yeah, former
Trent Jones.
Great middle linebacker for the Cowboys in the early 90s.
Yeah, neither one that got cut in the middle of the game or on the plane.
No, that was Curvin Richards. Curvin Richards did that. No.
He was the how do you play a whole game and not make a tackle?
Robert Jones was a middle linebacker. His son is Zay Jones, the receiver. And so,
really?
Yeah, but this is a different Robert Jones. This is Robert Jones from the Dolphins. And they make the addition there. They needed a true guard, especially with, Zach Martin retiring. They're probably going to lean on Bass and Hoffman, I would imagine. But you're talking about especially Hoffman, a guy who's split time between center and guard. He's not like a true committed to this position kind of guy. So Robert Jones, they had him for up to potentially $5 million. So 1 year, $5 million deal that maxes out. But the deal yesterday, the name that you may know, is Javonte Williams. So the Cowboys get Broncos running back Javonte Williams, which there's some things to like about this. And then there's some things to make you go, what are they doing? So Javonte Williams was a early second round pick in 2021. Had a great couple of first years in the NFL. And then he tore his ACL. And his knee has just not been the same ever since. If you look at who he was before the injury, he was averaging 4.4 yards per carry, was around 53 yards per game, was a big pass catching threat, had 3 touchdowns receiving in his first season. And then you watch after the injury, and he became about 3.6 yards per carry and can still catch the ball out of the backfield, is still effective in that respect, but is not the prolific threat running the ball that he once seemed to be. Physical runner, a guy who'll catch the ball, a guy who'll do some different things for you. The youngest unrestricted free agent running back on the market by a full year. Yeah. So you're talking about young guy who's had some success, but has been limited in the last couple of years. Now as has been pointed out, the
25 in April. He'll be 25 in April. So a couple of April 25th. So 6 weeks.
The changeover to the switch when he started having his struggles with the knee, that also coincided with Sean Payton getting there, which was also a different run scheme and some different things like that. It may be that he wasn't a scheme fit. Who knows? It's just it coincides pretty closely with the injury occurred and he started having some struggles running the football.
Hey, I'm excited, man. Yeah, you're gonna bring me down today. I mean, they signed a long snapper, they signed a guard.
They did.
And they signed a running back. Yeah, bring me down today.
Look, I don't...
Super Bowl.
Look, it is day one stuff. They are at least like...
On day one.
I'm not saying it's... I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, this is super exciting, because it's not. But
you're wrong.
If you want to look at it and just say, did they get involved on day one? Did they actually look to cover some things up? They did. Now, they ultimately lose Jourdan Lewis yesterday. And that's probably the biggest punch to the gut that they could have gotten. So I don't think they were anticipating Jourdan Lewis to go that quickly.
So when Jourdan went that fast,
which we talked about that yesterday, we said when we were talking to him below the belt, we said 9 to 10 million is what teams will probably be willing to pay him, and he gets 10 million.
So when he went that fast, did he even come back to the Cowboys with a, hey, match this?
I don't know. I don't think the Cowboys would have. I don't think the Cowboys were anticipating that he would get that much. I think the Cowboys were willing to play in like the $5 million range. We had mentioned that yesterday. I don't think they had any clue he was going to get the money he did. Every year it seems like there's a position that's just getting paid through the nose at a really high rate. Corner seems to be that position right now. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, how they may have screwed themselves a little bit on Jourdan Bland, or not that they did. The market has screwed them a little bit on Jourdan Bland, because, dude, you had 3 or 4 corners yesterday get paid more than what you signed Diggs for.
Okay, so you had DJ.
Yeah, DJ Reed.
He got, what, 16?
Yeah, Carlton Davis, Charvarius Ward, Byron Murphy, J.C. Horn. So, I mean, you had 4 or 5 of these guys that got paid more than Trayvon Diggs did.
Wow.
So that's starting to jump. That market's starting to jump a little bit.
It needs to.
And that's going to affect Jourdan Bland. But that jump also affected Jourdan Lewis getting what he got. So Jourdan Lewis gets 3 years, $10 million, and they lose a genuine leader in the locker room. I've made the comparison before. He, to me, is this generation of fans, he's Dat Win for them. Where it's just third-round pick, tough, smart, scrappy, physical football player who had to constantly battle the question of, are you big enough to do this? And at times battled that question from his own coaches. They sat Jourdan Lewis on the bench for basically an entire season his second year because Chris Richard just didn't think he was big enough. And he had that. I mean, he would play in spots.
I'm trying to think who the other corners they had.
That year would have been Cheeto Uzie and Byron Jones was here that year too. Now, but I mean, you'd expect he could be the nickel guy, and he wasn't. I'm trying to remember who their nickel guy was that year, but he barely saw snaps that year. I remember he would play. There were times he'd play just a handful of snaps, just a couple of them. But I mean, he was always a good player for them, never a malcontent.
Yeah.
A big time source of juice and intensity, and honestly, one of my favorite players to cover in that locker room that I've ever been around. And so there's going to be a void there. They're going to miss him. And I don't know that they've got a really quick solution of who's going to play the nickel next year now. This is something where they thought they were going to get him back. I don't think they thought they had a deal done, but I think they believed, we'll get it back. We'll be good. No problem. We'll come to terms because we want him. We really do want him. And I think it fell short. They were never going to match the money. And Jourdan Lewis knew that. And that's why, they're now in a position where they've got a hole. They've got a starting position that they have to fill.
$10 million a year on a guy who's going to be 30 before the season starts. I can understand their hesitancy. I like him. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a tough player. But I can understand the hesitancy. Like, all right, we may take and this is what I wish the Cowboys would do more of. Like, we may take a loss in the short term to get a win in the long term.
Costs money, though. It costs money to do business.
Oh, of course it does. But like, you don't have to pay age.
Right. But I mean, he's not.
It's not like he's ancient, but he plays a position that relies on speed and quickness, and that's arguably the first thing to go.
Right, but he's never been that guy. He's never been like a big long speed guy or anything else. Right. He's always just been a technician, a physical player. Look, Eberflus, one of the big things Eberflus wants here is he wants guys in the secondary who are willing to tackle and make plays against the run. Toughness and physicality. That's Jourdan Lewis. Jourdan Lewis is one of the most physical. If you want to talk about pound for pound toughest players on the Cowboys over the last several years, Jourdan Lewis is probably right at the top of the list. And so this is a serious void. Nick Harris over at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram said this is the Cowboys cornerback room after they lose Jourdan Lewis. Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, who could miss the start of the season, Kalen Carson, who was getting worked at times last year before he got hurt, Josh Butler, who's expected to miss the majority of the season, Andrew Booth, and Keeman Hall. That's it. That's your entire cornerback room.
Ugh. So that's obviously in play.
In draft and free agency and anything else. But are you willing to spend the money?
Well, they need to be.
And you're watching the corner market. The corner market's getting snatched up right now. There are guys going really fast yesterday in the corner market.
Man, everyone's pointing at the Commanders. The Commanders and the Bears have done things in this offseason that really kind of bring to light what you can do when you have a free quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely being more aggressive. I mean, Washington especially, and
you can be.
We'll get into at 7:20 later today. We'll get into kind of the power struggle that's going on in the NFC East. While the Cowboys are, I don't want to say they're just sitting and watching, because I mean they've made moves. They were trying to make some moves. I still think I would not be surprised to see them get involved in the trade market in the next day or two.
Cowboys?
Yeah.
So trading pick for player or player for player or player for pick?
I think pick for player.
Okay. Like high pick?
No. I think this is about more
like a third.
Something you would use. I don't even know about that high. Something you may use on a if you're looking for, all right, we wanted a running back. Well, let's go get this running back in the 5th round. Stephen Jones has talked about we want a quarterback. All right, let's go find one of these quarterbacks who's just kind of languishing as a backup and trade for him to be our backup. Let's go send a 6th over there. Like, I think you're going to see, you will see something like that here soon where they're just going to start saying, all right, let's go find somebody already under contract and deal with this. Because I think they are frustrated by how this has played out so far. Yesterday was a tough day for some of the availability. The fact that they didn't think they were going to have a nickel corner opening and now they do, I think is troubling for them because it changes your priorities in the draft. It changes what you're looking at cornerback. Here's the list of corners that got done yesterday or within the last couple days. DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward, Byron Murphy, Carlton Davis, Nate Hobbs with the Packers, Paulson Adebo with the Giants, Brandon Stevens with the Jets, Isaiah Rodgers with the Vikings, Dante Jackson, Jourdan Lewis, Michael Jackson. You're talking about 11 corners got done yesterday. Darius Slay is very close to getting done in Pittsburgh.
The DJ Reed, the Eagles and the Lions seem to have everybody on their team signed, and they still go get players. That's frustrating. That's frustrating as a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I will say Eagles lost a lot of guys yesterday.
They did. They always do. They lose a lot of guys, but they sign a lot of guys too.
Yeah.
The Lions have already paid just about everybody, and here they are getting DJ Reed.
Yeah, and
ESPN has the top free agent available this offseason.
Here was the cost of doing business for those corners yesterday, just some of them. $20 million to Charvarius Ward, $22 to Byron Murphy, $20 to Carlton Davis, $16 to DJ Reed. You had $12 million to Nate Hobbs, $18 million to Paulson Adebo, Mansfield alum, Peyton, your high school. Yep. Another $12 million to Brandon Stevens, $7.5 to Isaiah Rodgers, $6.5 to Dante Jackson, $10 to Jourdan Lewis, and then $7.5 to Michael Jackson. So you're talking about the cheapest corner yesterday that went was Dante Jackson at $6.5 million a year. And then there was that note from Connor Livesay the other day that said the Cowboys haven't signed a free agent over $6 million since Greg Hardy.
And that was 2015.
And that is the bottom. That's the very bottom of the corner market right now. And now you need a starting nickel. They're in some trouble.
I mean, that's 10 years ago. Like the salary cap has basically doubled.
Yeah, so
in the last 10 years.
You're talking about they basically haven't signed a $3 million player if you want to adjust for inflation.
Right. That's troubling.
It is.
That's very, very troubling. Look, they got the long snapper done. They got him done.
Look, you do need a long snapper. You do.
You do need a long snapper.
You do need your long snapper.
LP, baby.
I'm glad they got that done. I think Robert Jones is intriguing, but that's really a depth piece at guard. Javonte Williams is better. I saw somebody say this yesterday. Nailed it. Better than washed up Zeke. He's better than Dalvin Cook off the practice squad. He's not better than Rico Dowdle, though.
Well, you don't think this is a replacement, do you?
I don't think Rico Dowdle's coming back.
So they will use.
I think it'll be Javonte Williams and
one of their first 3 picks.
One that they draft. I don't know about first 3 picks, maybe, but okay. I mean, it kind of depends on how the board falls.
Is this selectively aggressive? Or was this as
no?
The fan
I think selectively aggressive. I think they wanted Dre Greenlaw yesterday. Dre Greenlaw would have been a really good pickup for them. He ended up
Denver, right?
The linebacker. He ended up with the Denver Broncos for about $12 million a season. I think they were willing to go after that, and they didn't win. That would have been a signing that I think you could have said that was a signing that would have helped them, and they tried. They just didn't do it.
Franklin, injury attorneys, fan text 877-881-1053 for the 201. Jerry Sun, day 3. 3 free agents on day 1 to appease the fans.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are happy out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Listen, it's movement.
Look, I'm encouraged that they wanted to try for Dre Greenlaw. Just they lost.
Yeah.
But look, the Jourdan Lewis one hurts, and it changes the landscape of how they're going to build their team this offseason.
Yes, it absolutely